everyone, it's Alex and welcome back to another video. And today, Pokemon Black and White turns 10 years old. These are my favorite games of all time, so I wanted to do something special. So instead of complaining about how bad modern Pokemon is, I want to talk about just how good the franchise got. So without further ado, let's discuss why Generation 5 is where the Pokemon franchise peaked. One of the biggest complaints with the newer Pokemon games is the graphics. The reuse of models and stilted animation since 2012 is a massive issue that continues up to Sword and Shield. However, this set of games still uses sprites, and the sprite work here is masterful. I mean, just look at some of these. Pokemon like Quilava, Infernape, Scizor, and Zekrom have amazing battle animations in this game, and the extremely stilted ones in the current generations just don't live up to this. Another graphical complaint against the current games is the overworlds. They don't really look too great. They're too empty and the actual set pieces don't look very good for various reasons. Not here. Places like Castelia City, Nimbasa City, Driftville City, and even your hometown of either New Vema Town or Asperta City feel realistic and full of life. The overworld mixes 2D sprites with a 3D environment, and it looks insanely good. The models and sprites on display here meld so well together, half the time you forget that the game is technically 3D with 2D characters. This mix of 2D and 3D means the game runs smoothly on the DS, while still looking somewhat timeless. An honorable mention goes to Heart Gold and Soul Silver in this regard. Graphically and musically, these games are very similar. I actually have a lot to say on the music. The music here, like the graphics, are timeless. The instruments they use still sound good today, and the compositions on display are very fitting, no matter what track. You know that game that everybody's crazy about right now? No, not that one. No, not that one either. Ah, yeah, that one. You know how it has that one set of songs that has very detailed pixel art and each song is a certified bop? Okay, now imagine while playing that, you don't have to have skill, like I don't, to enjoy the music. And imagine that you could explore a huge area. Now imagine an RPG with over 100 bops. That's Pokemon Black and White. Now, multiply the amount of fist-pumping heads smashing gifts from Arceus by 10. That's Black and White 2, next to the Pokemon World Tournament. If you couldn't tell, I really love the soundtracks of both games. I listened to every single track in both soundtracks for this video. And normally I would find that laborious, and I would find it very daunting as well. But no, I just put a playlist on and then shoveled snow for a collective 4 hours. And I got a good feel for the entirety of Gen 5's soundtrack. Speaking of the PWT, or Pokemon World Tournament, I have yet to talk about gameplay. These games have a somewhat linear map, but the area design is conducive to areas that aren't only pretty, but they're also fun to traverse. Caves here, even the dark ones, feel like actual caves, and the music helps this fact. And with by far the most varied and developed combat system in the series, with things like triple and rotation battles being added in this generation, Generation 5 is by far the best set of games gameplay-wise. But don't just take my word for it. In Black and White 1, despite the main story not having any Pokemon from the previous generations, gym leaders and Geths and even the Plasma Grunts shake up the Pokemon you fight pretty well. And in particular has a special gimmick, that being that he only uses Pokemon that live locally in the area that you're currently in, ignoring the final battle of course. This is even better in Black and White 2, with the regional decks now being over 400 Pokemon long, and if you choose Challenge Mode, Pokemon have additions such as held items. I wish this feature would return. It makes fights with trainers way more interesting, and I feel like I actually need to strategize instead of over-leveling, which is harder with the new EXP system. Now, I won't go too deep into this aspect, as I want to get to the Pokemon World Tournament before too long, but basically, starting in Black and White 1, Game Freak overhauled the experience system to discourage over-leveling. The formula is extremely complex, so I won't bore you with it. But basically, it rewards you for playing smarter with lower level Pokemon by rewarding you with more EXP the lower your level compared to your opponent. The same is true the opposite way. The higher level you are, the less experience you get. Totally unrelated though, but Black and White were the first games without a game corner or a safari zone. Or berry growing. Man, they really did remove a lot from these games. But don't worry, it wasn't due to laziness like modern generations. They wanted to shake up the formula. I do wish at the very least the Safari game was back in Unova, but they do make up for it. Black and White and their sequels give you the battle facility before the post-game, and they're the only set of games to do this. So no, you can't play in the game corner, but competitive items like the Choice Band are actually available during a playthrough of Unova. It's actually what saved my skin in my Delibird challenge of White 1. Black and White 2 takes it a step further. So you know that gacha Pokemon mobile game, Pokemon Masters was it? Well, what if I told you there's a game out there just like it? But the game doesn't have gacha mechanics. The combat is way deeper, and you get a fully fledged Pokemon game alongside of it. And it's one of the games that the fans consider best in the series. Well, mate, it's called a Pokemon World Tournament! That was my horrible grade A under A impression, but that's beside the point. The Pokemon World Tournament allows you to rematch every single major trainer from the series past. This does exclude some rivals and most protagonists, but this is still cool. And each theme that's associated has been remixed. It's just better Pokemon Masters. This mode is something you'd never see in a modern Pokemon game. In fact, a lot of things, such as the typed gems, an immense amount of work to vary the Pokemon you fight, and the fair and fun challenge that the games have are insane. Heck, in Black and White 2, you run your own freaking mall. What stuff like that is in Sword and Shield? The wild area? That's just a glorified hole with a couple Pokemon in it. Come on. Black and White 2 just has way more content. The entire time I've talked about how awesome Generation 5 is, and from what I've said, it seems like Black and White 2 are the better games. Well, in my opinion, they aren't actually. Black and White 1 may have less stellar new content, but they have something the rest of the series doesn't. First of all, they're a soft reboot, and second of all, they have the best written story in the franchise. It's a lot like The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess in this regard. The game is very linear, but it works it into a strength. It feels awesome to play through, and Black and White 1 are just perfect difficulty-wise. Plus, White 1 was the first game I played after I knew what a Pokemon was. It's very nostalgic for me. Finally, these two games were released with several other games on the same system. So with it came steep competition. Before Black and White 1, you had Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Heart Gold, and Soul Silver in just the DS titles. This doesn't account for all the Game Boy Advance Pokemon games you could play. With the Game Boy Advance, you also have Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, and Leaf Green. So in total, there are 10 other Pokemon games that these two had to compete with. And back then, Game Freak cared enough to make these games live up to this competition. They revamped the sound font that the Johto remakes used, and they revamped the graphics from the previous titles. And they revamped the battle system. They also put a lot of work into the region, with Unova being already varied in the native Pokemon locations in Black and White 1, and Black and White 2 just kind of upping the ante and making it more complex. They really wanted to make these games stand out, and they do so masterfully. Long story short, buy these games. You'll be 10 years late, but in my opinion, that's still right on time. These games are still good all this time later. On top of that, they haven't been outclassed yet, at least in my opinion. Plus, these games can be played on a bunch of systems. With it being on the DS, it can be played on anything carrying the DS, 3DS, and 2DS name. And considering the combined lifetime sales of the DS and 3DS lines were almost 230 million as of 2020, you could probably play these games right now if you wanted to. The actual number I got was 229.96 million if you're curious. So that's it. That's why the Pokemon franchise peaked in Generation 5. Let me know your opinions on these games in the comments. I always read them. That's all I got. So I guess I'll see you guys next time. Take care, guys. Happy birthday, Pokemon Black and White.